I know it's still July, but stores have been advertising back to school sales for weeks now. I'm a little sick of it. You probably are too. But today we're going to talk with experts to help parents budget for all the things that they need to buy for the start of the school year. With inflation and tariffs, we now know prices have gone up. CNBC did the math and found you are paying 29% more for backpacks than you did before the pandemic. Prices for pencils and art supplies have gone up 27%, and tablets and pads of paper are 25% more expensive. So what should you be planning to spend this year? To get some of those answers, we want to bring in Brian McCarthy from Deloitte, an accounting firm that tracks this every year. Brian, thank you so much for joining us. I guess just put it to us simply, how much more are we spending this year?
So we're actually going to spend a little bit less this year than we did last year. We're expecting about $570 per child nationally. If we look in the Midwest area near Detroit, about $490 per child, which is going to be down about 3% year over year.
So $570, I'm taking notes as we speak here. That still seems like a lot per child. Has this been a trend going up and then just kind of dropped a little bit this year, or has it been trending down for the past few years?
You know, we've seen consistent numbers around this for a number of years. We've been doing this survey now for 18 years. When you think of all the things your kids need to go back to school, between clothing, book supplies, extracurricular activities, this is kind of just what we see now. If we adjust for inflation, we're probably down about 7%, but these are still real numbers.
So, okay, so let's break it down by category then. Where are we spending the most amount of money?
Most amount of money is still going to be spent in apparel and clothing, so apparel, footwear, for your children going back to school.
Okay, and tech, is that a big thing, or are you seeing that trend down as schools start to provide things like that?
So we've been seeing tech trend down. I think there's a couple reasons. One is a number of schools now do provide those technologies. Another is there was such an increase in the technology category during the pandemic, and a lot of those devices have really held up pretty well for back to school items. And so people haven't need to replace them.
Gotcha. So as we mentioned at the beginning of the segment here, we are starting to see sales already, and I saw them about a month ago, which was very frustrating. What's your advice on trying to get the best bang for your buck on stocking up on school supplies and going back to school shopping?
So there's a few things you could think about. One, we're probably still at the tail end of these mid-July promotional events. A lot of large retailers have tried to spur more shopping in July, which has traditionally been a quieter month, and it seems they've been quite successful. July is now a pretty sizable shopping month as people start to spend for school and use some of these mid-July promotional events to start even shopping for holiday. But if you're a retailer, sorry, if you're a parent preparing for back to school, some of the things you can do: spread some of your spending out. So be thoughtful if you have time to look for really good promotions. See where you can find free shipping, and bulk purchasing where you can sort of consolidate some of your spend together can also help you get a better deal.
Gotcha. Okay, Brian, we're going to take a short 90-second break here. We're going to talk more about back to school shopping and spending when we come back. Welcome back to Local 4 Live, everybody. We're back now with Brian McCarthy from Deloitte. Brian, so we're talking about back to school shopping here. I'm curious in terms of where you do the shopping, whether it be big box stores, mass merchants, online shopping, where do you usually get the best deals?
So shoppers are still looking to spread their spend around 4 to 5 different retail locations. Mass merchants, so these are your typical big box retailers, is still the #1 destination from Shopping Channel. Large online marketplaces is #2. But we're really starting to see some more spend consolidating to mass retail, and I think that's up about 15% year over year.
Is that because it's a convenience thing or a better price factor, or both?
So I really do think this idea of value is, how do I find more of the items that I'm looking for without a lot of effort? How can I find a good value proposition, which is quality and ease of execution of my shopping list at a fair price?
Yeah.
And mass retailers have really done a phenomenal job of finding better, trendy, good quality clothing combined with a lot of the other general merchandise that you typically need to see going into back to school season.
It's interesting you bring that up because I remember, when you and I were kids, you wanted the most popular clothes and the best looking trapper keeper and all that stuff. Is that still a factor, or are the parents and the kids now more appreciative of stretching the dollar?
So one, I remember wearing my No Fear t-shirts back in school, and so I wish those were coming back. Uh, so parents are having to be a little bit more thoughtful and frugal this year when it comes to back to school. They have signaled that they can still be influenced by their children. About 60% of parents said they could be influenced to spend more going into back to school season to buy sort of a trendy or item that means something meaningful to their student. And a lot of this really leans into like first day of school outfits. So kids still do want to look cool and feel good about themselves going on their first day of school.
Yeah. One more question for you. Social media obviously is an influence in every part of our life now. Does that trickle into back to school shopping?
It sure does. And we're seeing it grow more and more. So about half of millennials, 75% of Gen Z parents, who are now parents with kids going back to school, actually expect to use social media in their back to school shopping this year. A couple interesting things about those who use social media. So for about 40% of those who plan to use social media consistently for back to school shopping, these tend to be higher spending consumers. So about 1.8 times more that they plan to spend on back to school if they're buying on social media.
And
The other thing that's really interesting is the trust that consumers have in influencers and creators that they see on social media. About a third of them believe in those influencers even more than they do the brands themselves.
oh, really? Okay, so that's why you'll see the brands actually spending money on the influencers.
Exactly. People build a really close trust relationship with these influencers that they like to follow.
Unbelievable. An entire category of career I didn't know it existed until now.
Me neither.
All right, Brian, thank you so much for your time. That I appreciate it.
Thank you.